so that when we make it to the top of the mountain, we make it together, we make it collectively. And in that process, I realized there's two types of people. There's the people who say they're going to make things happen, but when one thing gets in the way, when one more call needs to happen, they say, oh, that was too hard. Oh, I found something else to do. But then the contenders, they say, oh, you know, I forgot my passport, but I'm going to go back, I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to reschedule my flight, and I'm going to come from Canada to come here today. The contenders are the people who, no matter what, they show up. The contenders are the ones, whether they win or lose, they make things happen, they train. The contenders are the people that I want to be around, and everybody here right now, you are a contender, so give it up for the contenders in the room. There's one contender in the room that I want to dedicate this speech to. It was just his 95th birthday recently. Give it up for my grandfather, Charlie. Yeah! So when he was 16 years old, he somehow convinced his parents that they were going to buy a dairy farm and that he would man it. And They did do that. And the crazy thing is, for the next 3 years, he didn't take one day off. He said, Brandon, if I was sick, I showed up. If I didn't feel like working, I showed up. If the weather was bad, I showed up. Because if I didn't show up, the farm wouldn't survive. The animals would not survive. And I was so inspired when he told me that story, because when I was 22, I worked 2 internships down in West Palm, Florida, and I had 7 days off in 70 days. I'm like, wow, he had no days off in 3 years. What was I complaining about? So I had a bucket list thing happen in July 4th, 2019. I wanted to interview my parents with the remaining grandparents I had alive. And I got to interview my grandfather and my grandma with my dad. I just did it on an iPhone. I didn't know much about technology then. I was just like, this is something I've always wanted to do. And I asked him that day, I said, Grandfather Charlie, what is the key to accelerating to the top? And he said, Brandon, I think it's these 3 things. He said, you got to be aggressive. So he said, there's some people who wait for things to happen, and then there's some people who make things happen. And if you want to make things happen, there has to be a certain level of aggression. And I'm not talking about knocking someone out, but you have to step into that ring. And most people don't step into the ring because they're not aggressive enough. So when the pandemic hit, I got challenged. I got challenged by a mentor. He said, if you want to succeed during this time, you're going to have to pick up the phone and make 50 phone calls to your warmest leads that you have. I said, 50 phone calls? I thought 10 phone calls was a lot. So I pick up the phone and I make call number 1. I get to call number 49. I'm like, man, I just have one more. And call number 50 ended up being with one of my good friends, Andre. His flight actually got canceled like 3 times, so he didn't make it here today. But my 50th call was with Andre. Andre was 21 at the time, but I just known he was going to do great things. He was interviewing some of the top people in the country, and I was just like, man, this guy thinks a lot like me, so I want to stay connected with him. So we had a call that night, and I asked him, I started a mentorship internship program, and I did it for free. I said, you know, high school and college students don't have any direction. They're not getting the internships they deserve because in 2020, things were crazy. So I said, Andre, I would love if you speak to my interns. You've met some very successful people. I know you're in college, but I would love if you speak to them. And because we had that call that day, that 50th call, he spoke. And then what ended up happening is 6 months later, I made this post, and I said, my goal is to help 21 people get to $21,000 a month that they don't pay until they get there. And Andre saw that video, he said, man, I want to be a part of that. So in March of 2021, him and his college buddies, they had a business. They were doing about $2 to $5K a month. And we started working together, and then I think it was in September or October, the day that we had Map Your Way to Financial Freedom, they were my first clients to get to $21,000 a month. And that meant I got paid. and the crazy thing is, their business is doing roughly 21 times that now. So, there you go. There you go. I wish he was here today, but unfortunately there was some flooding down at the Fort Lauderdale airport. So I learned that being aggressive could attract some incredible people into your life, just like that 50th called it. Then he said, my grandfather said, if you want to accelerate your path to the top, you also have to take chances. So I wanted the guy who was the millennial guy, the GOAT to millennials in personal development. I wanted to bring him here. So in December, I'm on the phone with his sales rep, and I said, is there a deal that he would consider if I got a certain ticket that he would come speak at my conference? And he's like, listen, his name's Alex. He said, I just talked to Alex. He said, if you get the most expensive ticket, he will give you one-on-one time and listen to see if he can come to the conference. So I said, okay, I'll take that chance. So I go down to Miami, Florida, and I already committed to going to Ken's event, who you're going to see in a second, the week after. So I was like, man, this is a lot. And I go down there, and the first day, there is a party for the all-access guests. And this ticket was thousands of dollars. And I'm on this yacht with about 40 people, and there Alex is, right on the yacht. So I end up having a good conversation with him. We touched base later that week. He couldn't make it this weekend. But 10 feet down the yacht, I end up in a conversation with one of the top guys in the world in the creative finance space. So what does that mean? This guy knows how to get very wealthy in real estate without any money. So we're talking in a circle of about 3 of us for about 45 minutes. I'm taking out my phone, I'm taking all these notes, and all of a sudden this guy comes into the conversation. He said, hey, Pace, how do I make $1 million without any money or any connections? He said, that's a great question. I would ask people, what do you have going on and what do you need? And then I'll help them find that need. Hey, what have you been up to? What have you been doing with your business lately? Oh, what do you need to take that to the next level? What do you need to make that happen a little bit faster? Oh, okay, let me help find that for you. And almost every conversation I've had since that day in January, I've looked at that. I can't believe the amount of collaborations that have happened because of that chance that I took. And I ended up meeting not the guy that I thought I was going to meet, but I ended up meeting this guy and was just blown away by what he taught me that day. And then the third thing my grandfather said, he said, it's important to like what you are doing. And I'm not going to lie, I did not like everything I had to do to be able to pull this conference off. But I loved what it's going to lead to. I loved where my vision is going in the future because of what we are doing here today. I love what you all are going to do with the information in this group. You see, I have a couple visions, and AWCon last year I shared some visions that not all of them came true, but a couple of them did. I threw up a Dream 7 interviews on there, and I actually got to interview 2 of those Dream 7 people. So I'm like, you know what, this year, maybe I can share some more visions, and not only will you get to know my vision, but maybe it will inspire you to go after your dreams and your big vision. So I have this dream of having the most impactful education system in the United States of America, where we have 10,000 student universities across 10 of the best cities in the United States. And instead of being revolved around sports teams to fill arenas, we have Fired Up Fridays, where all of the students come into the arena, and all of you people who grew together with me come back on that stage and you share your story and you inspire the thousands of people in that university. Can we give it up for that vision? I got this guy. I love the entertainment business, so you're going to get to see Terry Bader in a little bit. Winner of America's Got Talent. We're going to all go to the show tonight. And I've been messing around with a lot of different this year where I go around the United States and we somehow figure out a way to combine personal development and entertainment. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but like we talked about, I'm not going to get caught up in the how. I'm just going to try and figure it out with all you wonderful people in this room today. So I want to leave you with this one last thing. I was talking to my grandfather not too long ago, and he said, you know, one time when we were on the farm, the cows got over the fence, and they just munched at all of the neighbor's corn. And the neighbor came out ready to rip my grandfather's head off. He was so mad, he was ready to rip his head off. And my grandpa said, hey, I totally understand this was my fault. Send me the bill, and I'll pay whatever it is. Now, Grandfather Charlie never ended up getting a bill. Years down the road, when his neighbor got critically ill for 2 weeks and couldn't get out of bed, Grandfather Charlie stepped up and took care of his animals and his farm for 2 weeks, and he never asked for a paycheck either. And my grandpa said that day, he said, it's important to always make friends with your neighbor because you never know what the person to the left of you, to the right of